Max has been telling me all about you. I hear your name, I think, every week.
Oh, good.
He's like, Ellen Bits, you haven't met Ben Ark yet? That's crazy. You got to meet Ben Ark.
Max is ace. Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's our investor in the Ellen Bits company.
Yeah.
Rockstar, join us.
Hey, come on.
I am waiting for Max.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that's all right. You guys,
okay,
whenever you're feeling it,
No, he had the vision to invest in Ellen Bits, the company.
Mm-hmm.
And our model is WordPress.com. Like, we have WordPress.org, the free and open source software, which people can run themselves on their own servers. That's encouraged. However, if you're super lazy, then we have a SaaS, which we're about to launch, where somebody can easily spin up an Ellen Bits install and just pay some sats per hour. I'm really excited about that.
And the purpose of the Ellen Bits, you spin it up. What are you spinning it up? Like, what's the use case?
Well, it's a Lightning Wallets account system at its core, and you can have as many wallets as you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have this extension framework, and that's where it's like WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with a very simple Lightning Wallet account system, and then you extend it in any direction which is relevant for you and your node. So if you're a cafe, there's points of sale extensions, there's a invoice extension you might use. Whereas maybe if you're doing Nostr stuff, we have now a Nostr market extension and a Nostr relay extension where you can charge people for access to the relay you spin up. And we make building an extension as easy as possible. It's all Python in the back end. We use Fast APIs, our back end, and our front end is Vue.js, so it's very approachable for a developer.
Yeah.
And because of that, and the community is great, really welcoming, and because of all those things, we've managed to build a really great community of people and contributors as well who contribute all these incredible extensions.
Right.
I mean, like Lee, who's helped organize this place, he contributed like 3 extensions: the bulk card extension, the invoice extension, and the NIP5 extension.
Oh yeah.
That's the first Nostr extension we had. So if you've got a URL and you want to sell NIP5 NIMs, then for Nostr, then you can do it with this extension. It makes it nice and easy. So it's a really fun project, and if you're running it, we've pulled out all the extensions. So when you install, you just install the core, and then we have a vetted extension list, which people have to PR in new updates and new extensions. Mm-hmm. And if it goes into the vetted extension list, by default that's included in Ellen Bits. So you'll just every now and then a new extension will appear in the Ellen Bits install, and you'll be like, "Ooh, what's this?" And you can install it.
So almost like an app store for these extensions?
Yeah, it'll just appear there.
Or a shopping list.
Yeah. Much like WordPress, people just add these extensions. And that's great because...
so how does like the typical customer decide to use this? Or like in WordPress, I guess, maybe I would imagine you want to launch a corporate blog. You say, okay, I'll go to WordPress.com and I get to use all the software from WordPress.org with none of the hassle, right?
Yeah.
So is there like a typical customer profile that would be wanting to spin up the wallets, or like is it a coffee shop or is it an online service? Or
it's so varied. It's so varied. A lot of people, use it in their stack because we have these all the extensions have their own public API, and then Ellen Bits Core has its own API as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're running some sort of service, like one of our main contributors and someone who works in Ellen Bits full time is Callie. And Callie, he has the Lightning Tip Pot in Telegram, and he built that on top of Ellen Bits. And it means that he doesn't have to worry about the user stuff. And any updates and any contributions he can make to how the users are managed and how his software creates new wallets, creates new users, the rest of the open source community can then benefit from those contributions, even though his thing on top is, actually, no, it's fully free and open source, actually, Lightning Tip Pot, but potentially you could have some service or product which is closed and you could just have Ellen Bits managing accounts and wallets and things. And those power users are really useful because they're testing at scale.
Right.
And they have a lot of users and they usually contribute back a lot of really good contributions. So,
right.
And then Callie, he went and built the Cashew, so an eCash extension, so you could create your own mint and then create your own eCash tokens, which is... People are very interested in Bitcoin at the moment in Lightning because it's a kind of a blinded version of custodianship where the custodian can say, look, I don't know what these people are using the money for.
Right. So kind of the privacy is
it's like a more privacy-centric version of custodianship.
Right.
So a lot of people would be very excited about that. And it's cool. With the company, Ellen Bits, the company, we have Tal, Vladstan, Callie, BC, he manages a shop. We also have a shop where we sell hardware stuff like POSs, hardware wallets, ATMs, things we build ourselves, DIY projects. And then, who have I forgotten there? Oh, DNI. And they're all great in like that. We all seem to have slipped over the past 8 months of us working full time on it. We've all kind of slipped naturally into our own little specialisms, which is just fantastic because it means that we don't tread on each other's toes and we can help each other out. But naturally, we gravitate to our own little areas.
Right.
And they're also incredibly talented.
Did the project come together kind of first as an open source thing that you then layered?
I mean, it's completely free and open source.
Okay.
It always has been completely free and open source. And it's all we did was we got some investment from Max, and then we said, give us a year. We will build some stuff like the SaaS thing. It's like software as a service, like WordPress.com thing. That's useful. We'll build the shop. That's useful for people.
Yeah.
Give us a year just to work on the software, and there's a bunch of architectural stuff we wanted to do where we're working. So we'll work full time on it for a year and then just see where we go.
I see.
And that's where we are now. So it's we made it like 2.5 years ago. And to be honest, like very early on, we had a lot of VC interest, but it wasn't right. And then a lot of the proposals they were making for monetizing the software, it was the typical, here's this beautiful free and open source project. Now let's monetize it by making a commercial version and a community version. And when that happens in a free and open source project, it kills it. Because you end up with a good version and then a shit version.
Right.
And you're trying to push people constantly onto the good version, which people have to pay for.
So meaning like the community version ends up always being underinvested in subpar relative to
they just deliberately make it shit.
Oh, okay.
Because then that encourages more people to go for the paid commercial version.
Right.
And we don't want to do that.
Right.
Like WordPress, like WordPress, you can get the full WordPress stack. It will run perfectly.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to run it on your own server, you can just go to WordPress and do it on their server architecture.
Got it.
And that's the model we want to do. Like the whole, and it's an interesting balance because the whole point of the company is to help nurture and grow the free and open source project. And that's something which we're constantly mindful about. But just by the people who are working on it, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And we have this like WordPress, we just literally follow their business model.
Right.
And roll out LM bits that way. And Max has been great because he fully understands it. He gets it. He's like, yep, great. And so let's not break the thing, which,
Yeah. So the kind of the WordPress.com equivalent is the one that's not yet launched, but launching soon?
So we have it. So it's software as a service. So tomorrow you'll be able to go to lmbits.com.
Okay.
And then say launch, and it will just spin up an LMBits on a server, and then you can just use it. And
do you have like maybe some early design partners or kind of customers who are going to be part of the launch, or how do you think about?
The people who work on LMBits are very, very talented. Like it's been incredible how talented and diverse our group is. So we haven't had to have any of that. It just works, and it works beautifully as well.
So when you push it out, do you send it out to like an email list of people who've expressed interest, or how do you think about it?
No, it'll be kind of we're just by launch, we're just going to enable that feature on .com.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then we might not be that public about the launch because we don't want like thousands of people to suddenly start stress testing the architecture. I mean, it's like a spin this thing up, play with it, but don't put any money on there which you're not willing to lose because this is new cutting edge stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll give it a few months like that.
Right.
Stress test it, see how many users we get in, and then from there we'll then create it. Obviously we'll make it so it's a stable platform. Right. I mean, from us testing it, and we have a small group of people who've been using it. It's been very stable, but you don't know. And everything works until you have users. Everything works, and then you get users, and then suddenly everything breaks. So that's going to be the focus of the next couple of months. Is just kind of like
Makes sense.
We are building it up and building out our cluster so we can accommodate for tens of thousands of users.
Right. And then we're here at Nostrica because I guess there's obviously everything in the kind of Bitcoin and Lightning ecosystem is at least exploring or asking the questions about Nostr and what it means for the future. So are you here with a specific intention about what, sort of how the LN bits Nostr ecosystem co-evolve, or?
Well, I mean, so like I was very early on, I had like a very emotional attachment to Nostr because there was some influence from something which me and VHF had worked on earlier, which was the Diagon Alley stuff, the marketplace stuff. Yep. So that helped influence the creation of the Nostr protocol. So when VHF told me about it, I was like, "Whoa, that's that thing," you know. So it has some slight. I think we're all right there. Tablecloths were flying in front of the camera there.
Yeah, right.
Which is lovely. So, a welcome breeze.
Yeah.
But
so
I immediately had an emotional attachment to the protocol, and then I made sure to secure like Nostr.com. So I got Nostr.com, and then I made like the first kind of Twitter clone.
Oh, cool.
Which I think it was good for people because it looked like Twitter.
Yeah. What was that one called?
It was called Nostr Twitter.
Oh, okay.
And it was on Nostr.com.
Yeah.
But it was buggy. I mean, and also we hadn't had any users or anything. So,
sure.
And the VHF thought that made Branel. And he did a good job. Like really, Branel's a wonderful piece of software. And that was like a great client, pulled in a lot of people. Then you had the Damus stuff. But yeah, I was there, within the first 10 people in the Telegram group, and I was always. There was a period where I didn't really contribute anything because I made the Nostr Twitter thing, and then I was busy with the LM Bits stuff, so I didn't really do anything. We wanted to then build Diagon Alley on LM Bits, but it was always kind of shelved because people didn't quite get how important Nostr was.
Uh-huh.
But then with Jack Dorsey and him, even within the LM Bits team, but then with Jack Dorsey validating it, then suddenly the LM Bits team are like, yeah, cool, like we should be building these Nostr things, we should be finishing these Nostr extensions we've had for years on the side.
Right.
So where was I going? Oh yeah, on my emotional attachment to Nostr. So the whole thing's been super exciting. That this protocol, which I was extremely excited about, and I was involved in early on, and then kind of didn't do anything with. Well, the way in which I did contribute in that period actually was I was constantly talking about it. I would go to Bitcoin conferences and be like, have you heard of Nostr? Have you heard of Nostr? I did like a Nostr talk, I think the first Nostr talk in Parallelipolis and HCCP. And that went down really well. All the hackers and stuff loved it, and a bunch of people powered in the Telegram group. So I was like, to relieve some of the feeling of guilt by not doing anything with it, I was like talking about it.
Right, yeah. Well, that's helpful. Share the story.
And we made like a video as well, like what is Nostr, blah, blah, blah. And now to see it grow since December, and I mean, actually, when Jack Dorsey got excited about it, I was like, okay, I need to put a client on Nostr.com, and Branel's it has some issues with a database system which it uses, so I couldn't use that. And then I was looking around, and there was literally no clients which were good at that point.
Yep.
Enigma was the best client, like it would work, so I put Enigma on there, and to go from there in December to 3 months later, where we have dozens of clients, and they all work, and they're great.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic. The momentum is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think we're here in this really pivotal point.
Yeah. And it feels like there's some new things, I think, Diagon Alley, if I understand right, is kind of a precursor to what is now is it called Nostr Market? Or
yeah, it's called Nostr Market now,
That's basically the same thing, just with a new name.
I thought the name's kind of goofy. I mean, I liked the name originally, but...
what was it? It's some sort of a Harry Potter reference?
Yeah, because that's where where they go to buy their wands and whatnot, Diagon Alley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the muggles can't see it because they're not looking for it, but it's there. So I don't know why I called it that. I think I was just watching Harry Potter with my kids or something at the time when I was making it,
right.
So I thought it sounded kind of cool. But yeah, we call it Nostr Market now to try and make it a bit more... I think naming's really important of things, like make it really simple, so you remember it.
Yeah, and I've read a bit of the Diagon Alley, the GitHub. I think we were looking at it last week. I think you guys made an announcement, right?
We did on Bot Fun. Yeah, we did that demo didn't go very well at all. Like it broke, I think.
Yeah.
But the demo video, if anyone's interested, the demo video I did here on the first day, it's like 1 hour 23 into the first day's stream. I did a demo there and it worked perfectly. It was great. Because we've not officially released it yet, so there's still bugs.
Right. And just to make sure from ground up, let's assume we understand very little about it.
Yeah.
What are the overall goals?
It just means that, so you as a merchant and then me as a customer, we just use Nostr for you to publish a product list and sign the products with your key. So I can verify they're your products. And then when I buy a product from you, after the trade, you can then leave me a review and I can leave you a review, and you have reputation kind of attached to our keys. And it means that because it's, Louisa Alexa, one of my friends, she's written an article about Nostr, and one of the phrases she used in it, which kind of simplifies Nostr, but it's a nice way of explaining it to someone who doesn't understand what Nostr is you go from a model where you have smart servers and dumb clients to smart clients and dumb servers. And because you've got smart clients, it means that on your client side, you don't even have to have like DNS or anything. Like you can just be running this locally on your computer, and I could be running it locally on my computer, and you can sell something to me through a relay. Oh, sorry. Got a bit of table shuffling. Sorry, but and yeah, that's it. Basically, it's
And so is the goal? A lot of Nostr, I think, what it's really good at it's limiting the suppression of speech, right?
Yeah.
Because you can publish to many places, and as long as one of those
it's
things
resilience.
Is
It's censorship resistance and resilience. Like you have a resilient infrastructure, which is very hard to take out and like fairly pointless. Like if you with a client is just a dumb framework which pulls in data from public keys.
Right.
Subscribe, and the data will be different compared depending on what relays you connect to, and it's not really anything to do with the provider of the client, who the relays are, who the person's connecting to. So, like you can't really attack the client. So it's like, okay, you'll attack the relay. Fair enough, you can attack a relay, but they're so easy to spin up that it's like. I think with Diagon Alley, I was thinking about like Pirate Bay or something. Like it's resilient. It just keeps popping up. It's not hard to spin up a Pirate Bay website.
Right.
And I was thinking it would be cool if there was a marketplace thing which was similar. It was censorship resistance was achieved through resilience.
So the main goal again is censorship resistance of like a selling platform.
Well, I mean, so with to a degree, but it's more. I like sort of flatter. Ways of selling products. I feel that Jeff Bezos and Amazon is a bug in the system. Like him becoming the first trillionaire, all that value is being pulled out of the producers and the people who work in Amazon. And obviously you'll probably still have Amazon, but I feel like it's kind of cool to have a system where it's just software and someone sells something to somebody else and there's not someone in the middle taking a large cut. And also something which is a commons, like anyone can join the marketplace and sell stuff, and it makes it easy. So it's you could just go on there and start selling stuff easily.
Right.
And I think that's really neat. Like if you look at like Facebook Marketplace, like how busy that is, and you look at other platforms like people using Instagram to try and sell stuff. Like I think that like the traditional web shop system or whatever, or eBay or Amazon, I think it's clearly there's interest in more natural ways of doing commerce where it feels like you're going to a marketplace and dealing with a merchant directly. And I think that the Nostr market, formerly Diagon Alley, I think that kind of achieves that feeling. So.
Right. Do you think that some of the early use cases are likely to be around more like digital goods versus physical goods, or do you have a hypothesis on how?
Both. Both. You could use it to sell Bitcoin. That's a great use case. Make a local Bitcoins.
Right. Would you guys think about making one of the first applications like a local Bitcoin type?
I mean, so we would then be selling Bitcoin, I suppose. But no, it depends on what the merchants want. We've just built the clients, and then we make running the software easy. And I wouldn't say that we would try and monetize with. I mean, we'll put our shop on there, selling our gizmos and hardware and things. But I
mean, just for the purpose of getting more crystallized how to run the best shop, you probably have more in your head about how to run the best shop than somebody who reads about it on the web. So if you can show the world that, I feel like it'll help.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it won't
people.
be me. It won't be us. It'll be this great community. I mean, already people have come up to me and they said, "Oh, we want to do this. We want to do that. We want to build a client and implement it into this and implement it into that." And I mean, it's one of these ideas you make and you just put it out there. You get that proof of concept out there. You get something which kind of works out there, so people can play around with it, and you make it easy to access, and then just like let it grow, like see where it goes.
Right.
How have you found the conference so far?
I've enjoyed it. I mean, I kind of come with an open mind to just meet people, and I want to hear everybody's ideas and hear.
It's idea overload almost, isn't it? You're like, we've spent a month digesting this stuff.
I like to get a feel of the zeitgeist of like what are the things that people can't stop talking about.
Yeah.
Because in a sense that that tells where the energy is.
Yeah.
I think like these marketplace ideas, I feel like half the conversation
Has
I
to
have,
happen.
people are
it's
talking about
marketplaces.
the
Yeah.
marketplaces.
I was amazed how many
Yeah.
people have come up to me after the talk and they're like, "We're building a marketplace."
Yeah.
There's like half a dozen people. And
Right.
I'm, great, let's all make them interoperable.
Yeah.
So our products can appear on both.
Yeah, and I think the marketplace idea is compelling to a lot of people, and it's something we haven't seen because I think,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that we have so much energy towards building, Twitter on top of Nostr.
Yeah.
But then also, like, there's probably lots of other use
Oh,
cases
yeah.
that are underexplored
Yeah.
because there's so much exploration of that one kind of concept.
Yeah, I think that's okay to begin with, to kind of focus people, narrow the envelope. This is a social media protocol. Because otherwise, like, you can build anything with this thing, and then it's kind of almost overwhelming. Like, you're like, okay, anything.
Right.
Whereas if you just start with the social media stuff, and you can see that you can build something and it works,
Yeah.
then people are like, well, okay, well, maybe we can put a marketplace, and that also might work. You know?
Are there other kind of topics that you keep bumping into or hearing?
No, I mean,
people-
I want an Uber. I want geolocation to be an event type, so people can build an Uber.
Oh yeah.
I think that's something which will happen.
Uh-huh.
I think that 'cause it's funny because in the original issue I put on Nostr Protocol about that topic, quite quickly after talking about it, it then turned into an application which sex workers might want to access, because you have reputation on both sides of a trade. It's a geolocated service. And actually, like, there's not enough good software for sex workers. I even interviewed, it was about a year ago, I interviewed, I can't remember the name of her, but she wrote a book called Bitcoin for Sex Workers to talk about this idea about using Nostr to build some sort of, anyone can join application as a geolocated service where you have reviews on both sides. And she loved it because it's like she could only see clients who have a certain amount of reviews.
Right.
So it's much safer for her as an option,
Right.
So and that's a huge industry. You see it in Costa Rica. So it's like, it's something I would be excited to see someone build that application, even though, it's an embarrassing application to build. I think it's an incredibly important application to build for the safety of people within that industry.
Right.
And I think that industry is crying out for it.
Right.
And as well as like the taxi thing, anyone can spin up a taxi. I could be I've got a car, I've got an hour spare.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm available as a taxi. Is anyone in my local area I could pick up and take for a ride?
How does is there a need for like a centralized order book management of the ride matching, or do you think that's?
I don't think so, no, because I think it's just
can-
on who's around at any point in time, and then
Like,
it's
let's
up
say
to the
there's
client.
trade-offs of like distance and price.
Yes, exactly.
How do I find?
I guess it would just be up to the taxi driver to say, yeah, I'll pick you up, even though you're that far away or this far away. It's a peer-to-peer.
You create like a bunch
transaction.
of bids and list them, and then
I don't think it needs it. I think it would just be like, there's a taxi. Here are the taxi drivers around you. Here's their reviews. Here's their reputation. The ones with higher reputation cost more. Do you want to risk it and go with someone with a lower reputation?
right.
And then maybe within the app, as a taxi driver, you're like, I will pick up people within this distance from my geolocation. And then, let's go from there, really.
Right. So do you know anybody who's working on that kind of thing yet?
No, but it needs to happen.
Yeah.
I want it to happen. I think it might be the next thing we do in Ellen Bits. No, I tell a lie. Super Testnet made like a proof of concept application based on the Uber idea a year and a half ago or something. So it's asking for it. Again,
Right.
It's like, how many industries can Nostr not replace, but be integrated into?
Right.
And it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And in those cases, are you again excited for something around? Is there something around like the censorship resistance or the anti-suppression, or is it more the improvement of the fee kind of between the
I think
parties?
just remove the big corporate entity which is siphoning off all that money, and then create some monopoly in an industry, so it can exploit its drivers or whatever. Like, empower people to be their own taxi driver, empower a sex worker to not have to have a pimp, empower a merchant to be able to deal directly with their customers without having to go through some third party web shop store thing.
Right.
So I think it's just empowering producers and clients as opposed to server administrators, and that's the power of having a dumb server and a smart client.
Right. Do you think there become, like, I'm just thinking of areas like customer service. It's one that naturally is not usually part of open source, but a lot of people like to have a customer service, phone number they could call or an email they could call to sort of get help maybe a transaction didn't go the way they want. Maybe they
Yeah,
don't understand
yeah.
how to use the software. So, do you think that those types of features will otherwise be like? Can you create some bounty system to encourage them, or do you imagine they will become centralized providers of the customer service to these open source?
I think with Nostr, there's a whole bunch of ways to make some good, honest money. Either by charging for relay services, or like you say, for like charging for when someone wants an escrow service, or someone wants a point of contact for when a service doesn't work properly.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a whole bunch of great business models which can be made out of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be excited to see, people implementing those.
Right.
I mean, naturally, like with Twitter, for example, one of the reasons they had to have advertising on the platform is you've got to pay for the server cost of storing all those tweets.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, because it's storing all those tweets, because you're the product, it's almost like spoofing the conversational format, but you're publishing something forever.
Yeah.
And then people kind of are reserved and they realize they publish something forever, and then some people don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll just say anything, And then those people feel more real, and it kind of gives them what they're saying more gravity. And then you end up, with a Donald Trump getting a huge following basically off the back that he sounded more like the dude in the pub talking, rather than someone who was being considerate and conservative about what they were tweeting.
Right.
So I like the idea in Nostr that probably the tweets the messages you post on there, the notes you post on there will be ephemeral. They'll be around for a week or two, and then they'll go, unless you pay for the service of someone storing all of that data.
Right, but you wouldn't get a guarantee it would disappear, right?
No, I mean, it's not going to guarantee to disappear. Well, no, there's a few nips for like deleting, but I mean, no, there's no guarantee that it's going to disappear.
If a relay wants to keep carrying it,
they could keep carrying it forever, yeah. But the reality is, like, how are they going to pay for server costs? And if you're using Nostr for sharing videos or pictures, then service costs will quite high. And I think that more and more people will be willing to pay for it. Just they'll understand that. I think more and more normal people have been disenfranchised from the contradictions within the advertising model. Like, that's a way in which you can monetize a system like Twitter, but it's a contradiction, and you're inevitably going to annoy your users because they're going to be bombarded with these adverts, these creepy adverts, and targeted advertising. Some people don't care or whatever, but I think the majority of people kind of get a bit creeped out by it. And it takes time for that feeling to appear, maybe 10 years. But then after someone has realized that they're being stalked by their phone or by their application, after 10 years, then they're more receptive to perhaps this other thing where they won't have that experience. Right. Or maybe they can have that experience. Maybe some relay will feed them advertising if they really want to. But there's also the option where if they want to store stuff, they could do it and they could have it as a paid service.
Right.
And then Lightning in Bitcoin lends itself really well to that because it's micropayments. You can do micropayments.
Yeah, it sounds like you spend a lot of time thinking about the relay ecosystem, because that's one where I guess there's a natural cost to it that people will pay. Right?
I think so. It's funny because back in the day, a couple of years ago with Nostr, in the chat, we were speculating all this stuff. We were like, we could build this, we could build that, we could build this. And sometimes I'll hear like an idea, and I'm like, wow, that's a really good idea. And then I'll like scroll through the chat, and I'll be like, well, we totally talked about that 2 years ago. We just completely all forgot about it, Right. So I think there's just so much low-hanging fruit in Nostr, and that's why it has such momentum. It's because there's so much you can build with it, and it's not hard. Yeah. And it's just, build.
Do you have any maybe a call to action for people who are curious about the ecosystem but haven't decided to start building yet? Would you recommend
build a
Twitter client to start, or build a relay?
Whatever, man. Just build a simple HTML doc with a form and where you can publish an event, like where you have an input field, you put in a public key, you make a message, you click send, and then in the JavaScript you create an event. And then have a WebSocket. WebSockets are easy to create. WebSocket to a relay, and then you push the event up to the relay. There's plenty of great sort of starter applications which look like that. Go in, tinker around with it, play with the software, play with the nips, and have a look at some of the different nips which are being proposed. Because was the adding geolocation as an event type, then your mind just needs to. You just got to let your creative mind go, and then you're like, well, Uber, and all these other things you could build with that service.
And is the Telegram to sort of get connected? Is it mostly the old school one, or is there?
No, I mean that. To be honest, you can't keep up on there now because it's
Okay.
got like 6,000 people on it or something.
So where's it good? Like if somebody wants to get involved, is there a good community hub to find like-minded beginners or some people with some experience that might help?
I don't know. I mean, I think download a Nostr client. I mean, everyone on the Nostr clients currently are talking Nostr stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then you'll get your finger on the pulse on what projects are out there. Then check out their repos, look at the issues, join their community chat groups or whatever, and be a fly on the wall. Get involved. Start building stuff. I found that within the Bitcoin development community, which there's a lot of that in Nostr, even though it's not a Bitcoin protocol. If you just go in and say, I've got this idea, and can someone help me or tell me how to make this idea?
Right.
They'll be like, dude, fuck off, go try and make it first. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a bit Stack Overflow. Like, whereas if someone's like fumbling around and they've made this thing, it's really goofy, but they've tried, and they're like, look, I've been hitting my head against the wall for a week trying to get this thing to work.
Right.
I don't know how to do it. They're so encouraging. Like I was lucky enough, like Fearjeff, he's like a mentor. Like I was like that, I'm hitting my head against, like writing all this. But some of the ideas were okay.
Right.
And then the developers then within Bitcoin, they'll gladly help and contribute and hold your hand and teach you and show you how to best practices and stuff.
Right.
As long as you put the effort in.
So demonstrate some proof of work.
Demonstrate some proof of work. Yeah, exactly. Demonstrate some proof of work. Don't just like assume you've had an idea and then, of course you could propose it as an idea, but like there's nothing more encouraging for other developers to want to get involved if someone's actually tried to do something in the first place and dedicated some of their own time to it.
Do you have any
and that
projects?
line of, well, I can't do that because I'm not a developer, it's like bollocks. Go do a few days worth of some tutorial using Quasar or Vue.js or I don't know, or like a Python or something, and then just try and make it. Get your hands dirty.
Yeah. And is there a space like within the LN Bits community where like somebody's, let's say you're new to all of this, you want to figure out how to contribute, maybe within LN Bits there's a good Nostr offshoot or something?
No, we have just the LN Bits community group on Telegram's good. So just go to LN Bits, t.me/LN Bits. And in there there's people chatting all the time and stuff and sharing ideas and complaining because our demo server goes down and they shouldn't even be using our demo because we have a demo server running. Right. But then people use the demo server and we're like, don't use the demo server, don't use the demo server. So then when it goes down because we're messing around with it, they'll complain. Everyone's like, oh, whoa, what's going down? And you're like, it's the demo server. Don't expect it to do anything more than go down. But but there's some great supportive community members, Starvcoin, Leo, Hong Kong Leo, and Hamish. We're very lucky. We're very lucky, the community we've got. But yeah.
And what do you think, sort of, if we were to say, maybe a year from now, we're all gathered here, or I heard Brazil. Have you heard? Somebody told me that
maybe
Brazil may be happening. But let's say a year from now, we're gathered in Brazil. We're all hanging out, similar. Like, what will we be looking back and saying, oh yeah, like obviously that was going to happen, or like, wow,
we'll be saying that Nostrica event in Costa Rica was fun until ChatGPT came along 6 months later and made something better. That's what we'll be saying. God willing.
Are you playing a lot with the AI tools these days?
Yeah, scary.
What's your what's your touch point, or what's your sort of assessment of what you've played with so far?
It's scary, and the rate of development's scary too. But it's something you need to be prepared for. That perhaps human beings aren't best placed to be doing computer things. Perhaps computers are best placed to be doing computer things. But it's radical changes to society will happen off the back of the development of AI, and it's something which people really need to be kind of aware of, just so it's not a huge shock. I feel like human beings generally in the next few years, there's like all these poor artists now, and they can be replaced by a minute's worth of Mind Journey or whatever, it's Mid Journey, and for their self-esteem, it's hard. So I think people just need to be ready for it. The people doing thinking jobs, development, art, whatever, like they need to be ready for that and kind of work with it or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's seriously, we joke, but it's seriously something we need to think about.
Do you think that there's a more natural early touch point between the stuff people are building on Nostr and the stuff people are building on AI, or do they sort of go their own paths for a while and then maybe?
I mean, I think what's beautiful about Nostr is like some stuff could be replaced, like Bitcoin. What's the most decentralized, censorship-resistant money you can make? ChatGPT, and it'll go blah 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 blah. and it'll be this thing which is a gazillion times better than Bitcoin. And we'll have to accept that it is. And we'll be like, okay, yeah, fair enough. But I think what's beautiful about Nostr, it's very simple. It's a WebSocket. It's just something relaying information and then a client. That's it.
Yeah.
And then some data types. So even with, this but even if with this advanced AI, I think it's something which it might not be replaced. It might be something which may be just improved upon. But the general approach is so simple.
Yeah.
And that's what's beautiful about Nostr, is the simplicity. And perhaps gives it some artificial intelligence resistance.
Gives it artificial intelligence resistance?
Yeah, some. Yeah.
Because of the simplicity in particular?
Yeah. So the AI might just not replace it with something better. But it still might. So, but anyway, live and let live. Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah,
enjoy the conference.
Yeah. Well, enjoy
When the humans are still at the apex.
Yeah. Well, we still got it.